So following UFC 308, Max Blessed Holloway has recently uploaded a video to his YouTube channel to where some clips were pulled from this, right? And they were kind of stirring up the MMA community on all aspects of social media. These clips were going around of Max looking maybe a little bit delusional. And was he taking this KO loss to Ilia Topuria? Maybe not the best. So what we're going to do in this video is I want to go to the source, right? I will link this video down below. But what we're going to do is I pulled some different timestamps for us to take a look at here to get full context of what is going on here with Max Holloway, because there are some things, right? We're going to hear him reflect on his performance and kind of how he felt leading up to this massive fight with Ilia Topuria through fight week, including the fight, because he makes some comments about, the fight, the way it was being judged, which we'll get to. Then we're going to talk about kind of his delusional comments, right? The comments that are kind of stirring up everybody. I'm sure you guys have seen those clips going on, so we'll go over that, and I'll discuss my thoughts on that. And then just some of my confusion, right, from Holloway and his team. Why would you put on all this size to go up and fight Gaethje at 55 for the BMF just to go back down to 45? And if you won the belt, like, what was the plan there? So we'll get to that because you got to hear what he says. And then kind of what his plans are in terms of, staying at 45, going to 155, and a timeline for the Blessed Train's return, man. But I first want to say before we get into this, I'm a massive Max Holloway fan. I am a gigantic Holloway fan, and I know a lot of us are. I feel like if you're a fight fan, you probably like Max Holloway. But there's like this theory that Max is just like off limits. Like there's no room for criticism when it comes to Max. And look, we have to call out the facts and we have to take a look at and listen to when certain things are being said. So what we're going to do is we're going to, put our bias to the side and our love for Holloway to the side. We'll give him credit where it's due, but then we are going to critique a few things throughout this video. But first, let's start on Max's thoughts from UFC 308 initially.
At the end of the day, no excuses, man. No excuses at all. You're not going to get one excuse out of me. I felt good. I felt great. Camp went great. Injury-free. Cut went great. A lot of people thought I was up on the scorecards.
A lot of people thought he was up on the scorecard. So this is kind of where you see people are talking about, is Max cooked? Is he delusional? This is not a great comment by Max here. Okay, I'm going to be honest. As a Holloway fan, it's not a great comment by Max. 2 out of the 3 judges gave Ilia both rounds, first and the second round. Only one judge gave him that first round there. So I don't know who, maybe his coaches or friends were just being like, Max, Max landed some good shots. Topuria was definitely winning the fight, right? So 1 out of the 3 judges gave you a round. So that one, I'm not understanding that one there.
Before that left hook from hell landed, so I made the walk. I knew what I signed up for, and that's what happened, Ilia was just a better man that night. That's just it, He was a better man that night. It was his night, and, hats off to him. Does it sting? Does it hurt? Of course. I'm a human. That's what humans do, but it's trial by error. I got knocked down before. I get right back up, Literally, this is the first time me getting knocked out, literally, on stat-wise, but we come back, man. We come back every time, and I'm excited for it, I'm excited for the future. I only can get better, there's only up. Only thing left to do is go up from here. That's all I can say about it. I felt good. We'll watch the tape back. I was feeling good. I was landing my shots, he was landing shots. Just one of the shots that he landed was just much cleaner, and that's all she wrote.
So a couple of things to reflect on here from Max. So, first of all, he said, like, the first KO, statistically, so I don't really know. I think that maybe he was just saying, yeah, that's the first time I've actually been KO'd, because some people were like, oh, what does he mean by that? Has he been, like, kind of KO'd in there before and kept fighting? Like, I don't think it was that. I think that Max has been rocked, right? Like, Max has an iron chin, and to me, it just seems like throughout this video, as you're going to see, it just seems like Max never really thought that he was going to get KO'd, right? And you have to give Max credit. He always, whether he wins or loses, is always very respectful, always very graceful, and very motivational, right? And Max, you're going to hear him talk about how this isn't like another sport to where you can just get it next time, tomorrow if it's basketball or something. Like, you got to wait a while, before your next fight. And you can kind of see, to me, it seems like that he's struggling with this a little bit, and of course, like, it's your first time getting, KO'd, but it's just, I don't know, it's weird to me that, just kind of, and a lot of the different opinions about this, because like I said, I want to hear from you guys down below, but again, Max is always very honorable, always very respectful, and just said, look, Ilia Topuria was a better man that night.
A lot of people that make excuses. They'd say this, they blame that. I ain't that type of man. You know how much times that I was on the other end of this? Yeah, I know how other fighters feel now, so. It sucks, but this is the game. Mixed martial arts is the hardest sport to come back from stuff like this, In any other game, in baseball, in basketball, in football, you can have one off night, you can just totally suck. Couple days later, you get to go back out there and just be the man again, and everybody will forget of the last performance, MMA is much different, man. You'd be lucky if you able to fight 2 to 3 times a year, 2 times a year. So it leaves a taste in a lot of people's mouths for a long time until I can erase it. So till I get the shot to erase it, we gotta live with it, man. I ain't gonna make no excuse. I ain't gonna say nothing. I did everything that I could control. That's all I can say. I came out short. I was on the other side for these a lot of times, It's a learning experience to be on this side. And a loss is only a loss if you don't learn. And I learned a lot about myself. And the main lesson I learned is just sometimes don't get too comfortable. Everybody talk about how hard a puncher he is. His punches didn't feel any different from anybody else I ever fought.
Come on, man. This is where, like, when people are like, look, is Max cooked? Is he delusional? It didn't feel any different than any of the other punches you've taken before. Like, I don't know about that, man. Like, that shot, that left hook from hell that Ilia Topuria landed, that looked like a thunderous shot to me. Out of all, I've watched damn near every single Max Holloway fight in his entire UFC career. The only other time that I think we've seen him really, like, hurt and hit crazily good was against Dustin Poirier in that interim 155-pound fight. You remember when Poirier would kind of step through, land some of those nasty shots, and we'd see kind of Max buckle and fall up against the fence? Like, those were some of the hardest shots I've seen Max take. I think that this one from Topuria was, without question, the cleanest and hardest fight, or hardest shot that he has ever taken. So these comments here by Max, they just come off as like, you're almost just like trying to, I don't know, like that's what I was saying with the KO, is like, I really believe that Max never thought he was going to get KO'd, because everyone around him, everyone in the community is like the iron chin of Max, the iron chin. And I was like, look, I picked Topuria to win this fight by finish, because I was like, if you're banking on cardio and a chin against Topuria, man, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. You got to be perfect for 25 minutes if you're going to do that. So these comments, this is the clip that was floating around out there, and people are like, is Max cooked? And when they say cooked, right, I don't think people are like, Max is going to go on a Tony Ferguson 20-fight losing streak. That's not what we mean, or people mean by cooked. I think they mean like Max is like falling into a little bit of the delusion here and kind of accepting the fact that he was KO'd by a perfect shot by a very hard hitter in Ilia Topuria. I don't know. Like I said, let me know what you guys think.
Like, it wasn't no big difference, He felt like anybody else in there. And then he just landed something that landed. Even the one that landed didn't feel too crazy, So at the end of the day, it was just, I felt comfortable, I was in there. I ate some shots early. You get comfortable. You sit there. You try to do something, and it doesn't pay off, With great risks comes great reward, and sometimes with great risks just comes great failure, At the end of the day, if you are not reaching for the stars, then you're not living. Just because I feel short once doesn't mean it's gonna scare me off, This is what it is. This is mixed martial arts. This is MMA. This is sport. This is life. It's not how you start the race, it's how you finish. And it's a marathon, and we're still running this marathon. So for all the fans, everybody who's sad and keep checking up on me, I'm alive. It's not a funeral. I didn't die. But man, I didn't even go to sleep. I got dropped. I got punched. It is what it is. I got grounded pounded a little bit. I was still conscious the whole time. I knew everything was going on. When Gaethje was above me, he told me stay there, lay down a little bit, catch my bearings. But I was fine. I mean, a lot of you guys are taking it harder than me. And
so this is what happens, right? So what Max is saying here, first of all, great example for young fighters, for people getting into the sport. Like, Max is always very humble and graceful. Like I said, just some of his comments have been a little weird regarding this, almost like dismissive of the fact that, like, maybe having a little bit of a hard time dealing with getting finished. Like, I get it, man. Like, I don't think, like I said, I don't think Max ever thought he was going to get KO'd. But these Holloway fans and, like, these Poatan fans, you make it hard for the other fans that are, like, trying to, like, not be biased, right? Like me, like, I'm up here, like, trying to honestly evaluate what Max is saying, and people are just blinded by all of it. They immediately come to Max's defense. They, like, look what Max is saying, like, you're taking it harder than me. I think that's what he's kind of talking about. Like, the fans, like the Poatan fans, you've seen it, they just get crazy over stuff, and they just are, like, attacking people over, over this stuff. And it's like, dude, Max is fine. The guy is going to bounce back. I know Ilia called him Mr. Bounce Back, but it's true. Max is a guy that he can get KO'd. He could get, submitted or whatever, and he's going to come back and give it his all. Now, some of the questions that I have is when you start hearing a guy make some of these comments, he's like, I wasn't put out clean, or I wasn't put out cold. It was just some ground and pound here and there. It's one, I'm very happy as a Holloway fan that I picked Topuria to win by finish, but I was praying to God that it wasn't going to be a flush, like, starching KO. So I'm very happy that did not happen. But it's just one of those things, man, where it's like, Max, the way that he is able to sit down, have this kind of conversation, it's something that it's very good for the younger generation, like I said, in terms of fighters, to see this kind of stuff. But some of these comments, you can see why they get a little, like, twisted, and why people are like, Max is cooked, man. He's acted a little delusional here. So, but I don't know.
And I appreciate you guys for that. But at the end of the day, I'll be back. I've been put in a corner. Nobody puts Bless in the corner, baby. Nobody puts Bless in the corner. And I mean, when one door closes, another door is open, and I always told you guys, having options is always great. This might actually be, maybe it's like my Phoenix moment. From the ashes, we reborn. So we're on to bigger, better stuff, and walking through a new door and starting a new chapter. And I'm a big believer in saying never say never, And the big question right now is, was that your last fight at 145? You guys kind of saw me touch upon it in the press conference, and I can honestly say I think I'm done with 145.
So here you go. So now you get to hear it from the horse's mouth. Max Holloway says, "Look, I think I'm done with 145." Now, this was one of those things where when he accepted the BMF title fight to go fight Justin Gaethje, right here on my channel, I kept saying, I was like, "Look, I thought Max Holloway was going to be able to beat Justin Gaethje. I thought he was going to finish him. I got a little lucky there, right, because it happened in the final second." But I was like, Max just looked great at 55. He actually prepared to go up. He put on the size. He was really dedicated to the move up. And then to hear that he was going to go back to 45 against Ilia, which selfishly we all kind of wanted to see, right? Stylistically, it's an amazing fight. But even if Max, like, in doing that, even if he beat Ilia, like, what's left at 45 for him? He's basically fought everybody else. What was he going to fight Volk for a fourth time? Like, I didn't really want to see that. I know a lot of people, maybe you wanted to see that. I didn't. And then a lot of the other contenders, he's beaten, right? So, like, what was there really at 45? So to me, this is one of those things that I just hope we look back on, a few years down the line and we go, why did Max do that? It ended up ruining his career. Like, I don't think that we're going to be in that situation. I am just really hoping that the MMA gods are not so cruel that they kind of, take over and something, you know what I mean? Like, I hope that we're not looking at a situation where we're like, man, I wish Max never went to 45 because he was never the same once he came back up to 55 is I guess what I'm saying. So I don't think we're in that kind of situation, but again, I just wonder why come back to 45. I know money, I know the matchup, I know legacy, I get all that. But, as you're going to hear him say here, I just don't understand. Why not stay at 55?
Your boy is, like I said, we're only getting older. I've done 33. This cut was, no excuses. This cut was easy, bro. Shout out to Tyler Method, shout out to my wife. They helped me make this cut really easy, but it takes a toll cutting weight, period, and whatever weight you are. Like I said, I had to give up ramen for my 45 cams, so I'm done with that. I don't ever want to give up ramen again. 155 here we come, and 155 is where I want to stay. This is a new chapter. This is where we start. This is where we begin, and I'm super excited for it.
This kind of reminds me a little bit of Poatan Pineda, right? When Alex Pineda came into the UFC, it was like we knew that the UFC was going to do everything they could to get him to Izzy, right? You had this crazy history, this crazy storyline of these guys from kickboxing. And then Poatan goes out there and just takes the sport by storm. It's like something out of a movie. He's down on the scorecards. 5th round, is able to finish Adesanya. They do the rematch. Izzy KOs him, and then Poatan's like, look, it's time for something new, basically. The weight cut's getting hard. I'm going back up to 205, and that's where I'm going to do my damage. And then now he's talking about heavyweight, and I know he teased about going back to 85, but realistically, I think that was just more or less just for marketing tactics, right? But he's not making 185 again. The dude's too big. But my point is, it's almost like a new chapter, a revitalization, a new focus, a new, like, you're putting everything kind of behind you, and the rivalry with Izzy and all those different things, the rivalry with Volk, the Ilia stuff, and just putting that behind you and going back up to 55 where you go, you know what? Yeah, I went up there before against Dustin Poirier, and yeah, I lost in an interim title, but in an interim title fight. But I took that on short notice. That was Muffin Top Max, as he and a lot of people were saying. Look, he didn't make the proper adjustments to go up, and then he finally does. Goes up there, takes on Justin Gaethje, one of his best performances to date. Period. Throughout the crazy great career of Max Holloway, that performance against Justin Gaethje might have been his best, right? I mean, it was absolutely a masterclass. So if you're Max, there's a lot to be happy about and a lot of good to kind of build off of, going back up to 55. So like he's saying, the Phoenix rising back up, like I really think that we are going to see a dialed in and enthused Max Holloway, because while at 45, yes, it is sad that he lost to Topuria, and I knew it was coming and I hated that it had to happen. But now he's back at 55, a fresh, clean slate, new contenders, new fights, and yeah, maybe some rematches with some familiar faces. But I think that this is going to serve Max Holloway incredibly well.
I cannot wait, like I said, never say never, but I can honestly look you guys in the eyes and tell you guys, I'm probably not ever going back to 45. I loved what I did. I did what I did. I did what I had to do there. I worked my way back. I clawed my way back up to the championship fight multiple times there. I was a champion. I defended at that weight. Now it's time to move on to the next chapter. And 155, there's a bunch of fun fights that I cannot wait to take. We're going to take some time off. We're going to relax, heal. I owe my wife some downtime and some trips. So that's all we're going to do. But when I do make the return, it's going to be at 155, and we're there to stay.
So you can hear it. You can just hear kind of like speaking for Max, like with the 45 stuff, he's just kind of like, because again, at 45, say Max beat Topuria. What's next? A rematch with Topuria, Volk for a 4th time. Like, I know there's Diego Lopez, but outside of that, he's basically beaten everybody. He's beaten Arnold Allen. He's beaten Yair. He's beaten, he's beaten a lot of those contenders. So this is at this point in Max's career, you got to remember, he's still young. He's like 33 years old, I believe, 32, 33 years old. He still has time left, but he's a guy that, yeah, he's still in his prime, but he has a lot of miles on him. And whenever you keep making that cut, because Max is a big dude. He's like 6 foot. I mean, he's a pretty solid, dude. Like, he's not a small 45er by any means. And to cut all the way down and keep having to do that is very draining. And one of my critiques, with him going back to fight Topuria for that fight was, look, you went up to 55, you put on the extra size, now you're just going to like kind of almost like undo what you just did to go back down to 45. And we've seen this. We've seen fighters go up and then go down, and sometimes it just never ends up, panning out. But again, you could just see Max, there's a lot of excitement ahead. He's got Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, a Gaethje fight. I mean, there's Oliveira. There are so many interesting matchups for Holloway moving ahead. And again, he's never fought for the 155-pound undisputed title, right? For an interim against Poirier, but a chance to possibly, gain gold at 55, that'd be huge.
I went up to 155 on multiple occasions, We went up there the first Dustin Poirier fight. But if you could see, you go back to that fight, your boy just made 155. And Muffin Top Max, that's what they called me back then. But when we went for the Justin Gaethje fight, we took it, we not serious, but we did the right things. But when we did take the Justin Gaethje fight, my thought was, no matter what happened, win, lose, whatever happens, we was always going to fight Ilia Topuria next, So while we was getting ready for that 55 fight, we always had in the back of our mind that I was coming back down to 45.
So here's my thing, guys. I just don't understand that. I don't understand that. Maybe that's me. Like I said, feel free to let me know. I just don't understand this. Like, what is why would you fully commit to bulking up, doing everything that you can to go all the way up to 55? I understand it's like a side mission, a side quest. Like we saw Izzy do that against Jan Blachowicz. It was like a side quest, but Izzy didn't really he just didn't cut weight. I mean, the guy basically walked around at less than the 205-pound limit and just weighed in and fought Jan Blachowicz. But to commit to adding size onto your frame, and you could see Max looked solid. He looked quite a bit bigger against Justin Gaethje. He looked filled out. He looked fantastic at 155. And then to have in the back of your mind the whole time that you were going to come back down to take on Ilia Topuria, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Like, I feel like it would have, I don't know. Like, I know that it was like a side quest, a fun task, UFC 300. Like, I completely understand that. But for me, in terms of like a career move, like I said, I just hope that this is something that we don't look back on and go, that move right there really hurt Max's career. I don't think that we're going to be looking at that. I'm not saying we're going to. I just hope that we're not in a position to where we're thinking that. Because again, like I've said, when you bulk up to go up to a weight, you come back down and you shred that off. We just haven't seen that end particularly well for guys. So again, I just don't understand the logic there. I just, to me, it's just kind of confusing, but I get it. You go out, great performance against Gaethje. Your name is hot. Ilia Topuria's name's hot. I completely get that. Just from a career standpoint, I don't know. Because I feel like he could have just possibly had a 55 title shot. I mean, or another crazy matchup at 155. But either way, we were all excited that we were going to get the Topuria Holloway fight. No question.
So at the end of the day, I felt great. I felt good, but even the version you saw myself at 155 against Gaethje is not the full version, because we had the idea of going back to 45 because I wanted that world title, you know.
So that, again, guys, like, that's what's so weird to me. Like, why would you? I just don't understand, like, why you would have in the back of your mind that you're going back down to a division when you're trying to commit to moving up to somewhere else, to a totally different division, totally different weight class, totally new opportunities, to then, like, have the rear view in the back of your mind to go down again. Like, I just don't know. Like, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, other than, yeah, it's a great stylistic matchup, but I just don't get it. Like, I feel like it should have been one of those things where Max goes up to 55, he beats Justin Gaethje like he did, and it's like, wow, we look great at 55. This is where we're staying. We got a big fight with Topuria. Maybe we could get that fight at some point. We could do a champ versus champ when, you know, if I could get the 55 belt, Topuria could come up. Maybe we could do something that way. But you could really see, you know, again, this is no excuse. Like, I picked Topuria to win by finish. Like, so I was happy I got the pick right. But I don't like seeing Max get KO'd. And I said coming into this, guys, that this was not going to be a smart move. Not because so much of like, yeah, it was the weight cut and draining himself, but committing to going up. And then stylistically, Topuria is a very, very hard fight. And we saw at 45 when Allen and Zombie were landing on Max, it was different than when Gaethje was landing on him at 55. Like, Justin Gaethje is one of the hardest hitting 55ers of all time. And Max just, it wasn't really affecting him. I know he basically got dropped the one time, but outside of that, he just was speedy. He looked like Speedy Gonzalez out there. And he still looked good against Topuria. But I just had a weird feeling about this matchup, man.
I can't wait for the future, you know. If you guys thought that version of myself against Gaethje at 300 was good, I can't wait to get in the lab with my coach Darren Yap, put some size on, put some right sides without worrying about going back down a weight. I gotta sit down with the coaches. I gotta talk with the team. You know, my health always comes first. But you know, personally, if I got to choose a timeline, International Fight Week, I would love.
There we go. International Fight Week. So you can hear now in terms of the timeline, Max is like International Fight Week. We're talking the end of June, early July is usually, I believe, when International Fight Week is. So we're looking at, like, Max has several months to kind of get back on track, really add to his frame. Now, I still think that maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm stretching here, that could still be a little bit soon, depending on when International Fight Week is going to be. But I would definitely say middle summer or something along those lines, end of the summer, would be a great return time for Max Holloway, because I want to see him get back to where he was physically for the Justin Gaethje fight, maybe even better. I mean, that would be crazy. But the way he looked physically, you could just tell he looked more stout. He looked more solid, and his chin was fresher. I mean, the shots that he was eating from Gaethje, and it just didn't faze him at all. So I think that 55, that was the calling for him, was to stay at 55. Again, it was great. We got this great matchup with Topuria, but I'm excited to see him go back up to 55, man. An International Fight Week, I've been saying there's options because he does still have the BMF title. They could maybe do Conor McGregor. They could do, Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler, Poirier, a Gaethje rematch. Like, there are plenty of options for Max Holloway going back up to 55. So, or Dan Hooker. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of options for Max, so I'm excited, man.
Would love to be back on the 9th Island in Vegas. Huge fight card is International Fight Week all the time. She's there at that moment, I don't know who's going to be available at that time, but ideally, International Fight Week, Las Vegas, big fight card, making my return back to 155. And, with me being ranked at 55 is great. Hopefully I can fight somebody in front of me. We get a big win, who knows? We might be knocking on another title fight at 155, at lightweight. So at the end of the day, all I got to do is take care of myself, take care of my health, control what I can control. Get my body, not physically, but mentally ready to. Get back in the lab after, my vacation and some much needed time off. And the BMF title is a 155 title. So if it's the BMF title with someone, so be it. If it's a number one contender fight for 155, so be it. Whatever happens, Whatever UFC wants to throw at me, whatever Dana White hunted them want. Especially with that BMF stuff, Before the fight, they was talking about maybe doing a tournament. Who knows if that happens? There's a lot of guys at 55 with the BMF talk.
That'd be crazy. Wouldn't that be crazy if they did a tournament? It was Gaethje, Poirier, Conor, Max, Hooker, Oliveira. There are some BMFs at 155, man. I don't think Conor's one of them at this point in his career, but I'm saying those other dudes, there's options, man. And again, 50, the BMF title, let's be honest, everyone complains about it, and I get that it's kind of cringe and kind of dumb. It's basically a gentleman's agreement to, we're just going to stand and bang it out. We're going to use minimal grappling, this is basically going to be a striker's delight. And again, a 55 title, is it still a 55 title though? Because I know Gaethje and Poirier fought for it, and then Gaethje defended it against Max, but it was originally 170 pounds though. It was Masvidal and Diaz, so I'll be curious to see kind of what they do with that. But again, some exciting options for Max Holloway, there's no question.
Motto I live by, a motto my wolves live by is never effing give up, man. Never give up. And that's always been my motto. And like I said, I see all the love, I see all the support. There's nothing to feel sad about. This kind of stuff happens. It happens, it's life. It is what it is, you know what I mean? And again, thank you guys for feeling that way, but never give up. I've been here before. I've been here before. I've been knocked down, and I get to show you guys again. How much times where we was put in the corner and we claw and fight our way back. This ain't no different. Lastly, I would just like to thank you guys. Thank you for the Blessed Expressors, my friends, my family, all you guys. Thank you guys for non-stop support, belief. You guys know this ain't it.
So there we go. So and then basically it's just a thank you message here right now through the end. But guys, this is a Max Holloway that, like I said before, always respectful, always it's like I said, you can't not like Max Holloway. It's just one of those things where you always wonder when a guy gets finished, gets KO'd like that for the very first time, even though it wasn't a starching, one-shot hitter-quitter where Max is snoozing on the canvas, when you get KO'd for the first time, what does that do to you as a fighter? Do you come back the same guy? Do you come back a little bit more timid to where we don't quite see the same Max Holloway? I don't think Max is that kind of guy. I think when Max comes back, he's going to be refreshed, he's going to be dialed in, and we're going to see a very similar guy to what we saw against Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I believe we were going to get. But there's no question. A couple of those comments that he made in there, those were some clips that were floating around in the MMA community, which is why I wanted to pull from the actual source here so we could see, I could hear from, the horse's mouth himself. But again, no one's saying Max is cooked like he's going to go on some Tony Ferguson losing streak. They're just saying, is he cooked in the fact that maybe he's a little delusional and having a hard time accepting that he was KO'd against Ilia Topuria? Topuria. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you do not miss an upload. I appreciate it. See you next time.